Hello and welcome to the SportsGrad podcast, your bite-sized guide to enter the sports industry. And joining me as per usual is the Ralph Lauren model, Reuben Williams. How are you, mate?
G'day, Ryan. I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for pointing out my one luxury branded shirt that I own. I think I got it about 6 years ago. It's still intact, so it gets a good run.
Yeah, it is good. Are you sure it's the only one?
Definitely the only one, actually. Definitely the only one.
Wow, I really thought there was a lot more in the wardrobe. But
Well, that probably just speaks to how often I wear it because my wardrobe is not that extensive.
yeah, well, I mean, Meetups is Ralph season, to be honest with you. There's a lot of Ralph Lauren flying around at our Meetups, and I must say I'm guilty. I'll put my hands up. I did wear a bit of Ralph over the Meetup. They are nice shirts.
They are.
What can I say? But I thought you're looking dashing today, and you're sounding crisp.
Thank you.
And it's a good day.
Can only afford the one though, so got to wear it.
Well, that's the thing. I've only got one as well. So, let's get cracking. It's a cool episode today. Obviously, our meetups have just finished, so we thought let's do a wrap up. So let's get into it. This is going to be a fun episode. I'm Ryan Walker, he's Reuben Williams, and we are two mates who met at Cricket Australia, and now we help people find their own dream job through this very podcast and our online community. If you want to follow us, head over to LinkedIn, or even better, if you want to connect with us and hundreds of others working in sport, jump into the SportsGrad community.
Yes, and a quick shout out to all our SportsGrad community members, many of which who we met over the last few weeks around the country. And in particular, a special shout out to Oscar Yam, Sarah Pretty, and Luke Richardson, who all were doing some jobs for Basketball Australia at the Festival of Boom over the weekend. They were working at the Boomers games. They were on the floor there. They sent through a fantastic photo of them just working together. So nice to see the SportsGrad community coming together when they bump into each other out in the field too. So if you're like Oscar, Sarah, and Luke, and you want to get your foot in the door of the sports industry and work with some of the biggest teams in the country, including the Australian basketball team, or you like Basketball Australia and you want to save time hiring, finding good people quickly and easily, or if you're just like us, you might be early in your career and you just want to get out there, meet lots of people, network within sport, and learn all about what's going on, then jump into the SportsGrad community because there really is something for everybody inside.
Absolutely, Rubes. Now, you would know better than most people about this, but there's something unique about our good friends at Deakin. It's more than just the world-class academics, state-of-the-art facilities, and supportive community. It's the campus vibe that they're famous for, and you have the chance to experience that for yourself. Don't miss your chance to see what sets Deakin apart. Experience your tomorrow at their campus open day this August. Search Deakin Open Day and join the thousands of students who have already registered to attend this unmissable event. And there's some outstanding dates there in August that you can go and check out all the campuses in Geelong, Warrnambool and Burwood. So head to Deakin's website to check out all the details.
I used to roam around the Burwood campus. It was great fun back in the day. The Cube on the main walkway, the main arcade was the staple centerpiece of Deakin Burwood.
Well, I was going to say, if we're talking campus vibe, you're the man. I mean, you would have strutted around that Burwood campus feeling pretty good about yourself.
I don't know about that. There'll be a few people who would say otherwise.
Awesome. We love it. Well, let's get cracking into this episode. As I said at the start, today we are talking about our recent meetup. So we're going to do a bit of a wrap up about what actually happened over the last month, and just take you through some of the things we learned, some things we love, and give you a bit of a summary of it.
Absolutely. For those who don't know, and you might be listening to this thinking, what is a meetup? What are these guys talking about? A meetup is just basically a very casual networking event that allows people to come together, learn about what everyone's up to, and meet new people in the sports industry. So typically, this brings together students and recent graduates as well as professionals working in sport, and they're all just there just to have a good time and connect. We try and make this as relaxed as possible. I know you and I, Ryan, growing up through university, when someone said networking to us, we were like, hell no, that sounds cringy and uncomfortable. I don't want to wear a suit. I don't want to put myself out there to be judged by these people who are, 10, 15 years into their career, and I'm sitting over here doing nothing with my life.
Yep.
So we try and make it as relaxed as possible just by bringing together people in a pub, pretty normal setting that people can relax, have a drink and chill out with, all with a purpose to allow connections to grow in sport. We took a bit of a break during the Melbourne meetup just to speak about why we're doing. And part of our vision at SportsGrad is to create this global community of people all around the world who can lean on each other for different opportunities, whether that's volunteering at a beach volleyball tournament in Germany or tickets to a baseball game in the US, or just someone to catch up with when you come to Melbourne. Whatever it is, we want to create this global community around the world, and these meetups are the perfect way to get that started. So we went to 4 cities in Australia: Adelaide, Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane. We had over 350 people attend across the country. Over 50 organisations were in attendance as well, which is fantastic. And there was plenty to come out of it. So if you do have some stories from the meetups, please let us know. We'd love to hear them. We'd love to highlight them and just show what sort of an impact networking can have. But Ryan, firstly, who did you meet?
Yeah, and can I just echo how good those 4 events were? 350 people. Wow. That's a huge number. But look, I reckon it's hard when you walk away from these meetups, because I reckon you meet about 30 people each night.
At least.
So in terms of who did I meet, I mean, wow, there's so many people there. But what I think what stood out for me is sort of some of the people I met were attending their first ever networking event. So I'm talking about Eleni from Adelaide, Stella in Sydney, who was first there, by the way, absolute superstar. Billy in Melbourne, also an absolute gun, a little bit nervous, but we'll get into that a bit later. And then Chris in Brisbane, that they all came to their first networking event. So it was great to just meet them face to face, but also just chat about what's about to happen and how fun the night is. It's not, you don't have to be that nervous for a networking night, but great to meet all those people. It was fantastic.
Yeah, good to meet Eleni in particular. She often appears on our speed networking events in the SportsGrad community, and she's often walking and talking all the time.
Well, I think I said to her, it's good to see you not on camera walking around UniSA.
We love the effort that she goes through to make sure she's at our events, even when she's on the move. So nice to see her in person. But in terms of who I met, it was just a plethora of organisations. There was every kind of organisation there, from national bodies, the AFL, Cricket Australia, Football Australia, the Australian Olympic Committee as well.
Yeah,
we're in the golden decade, so we better give the Olympic Committee a shout out.
Absolutely.
There were professional clubs: North Melbourne Footy Club, Western United, Western Sydney, the Brisbane Broncos, the Brisbane Heat. The biggest tournaments that are making up the golden decade as well were in appearance too: the FIFA Women's World Cup, the ICC T20 World Cup as well, who made a massive impact across the 4 states, as well as some of the private agencies too: MKTG, TLA Worldwide, Champion Data, those types of people who work in different spaces to support these organisations in a really important way. And then, of course, our state organisations, the South Australian Cricket Association. I had no idea they were going to turn up, and they just rocked up and had all the numbers. Yeah, came in numbers, had all these roles in season available that they were looking to recruit for the BBL and the WBBL. Not to mention Queensland Rugby League, Cricket Victoria, Cricket New South Wales, Softball New South Wales, and Queensland Cricket too. So a lot of different organisations from a lot of different areas of sport.
Yeah, I also love seeing the people who, people that have been around for a little while, but also some of our recent members that have joined up. Oscar Yam, he recently, he's got about 3 jobs at the moment, absolutely killing it.
Well, he's got the Boomers one at the moment.
Got the Boomers one, as we said at the start. He's at Social Sport, lots of things happening. Adam Caruso's, he's at Southeast Melbourne Phoenix now, which is fantastic. Jakey Mutton, we've been looking to catch up with him for some time. He's a great contributor to the Discord server. Great to see him. Volleyball Victoria, Tom Cosgrove, Shiv Ranjit and Antveer.
Tom Cosgrove's been around for a long time.
Absolutely. And yeah, as I said, Tom, Shiv and Antveer and Cam Smith, they've been around since the very start of the membership. So it's good to just see these guys face to face and catch up with them and see what's been happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of a couple of people that have been around since day dot, I had a couple of really lovely conversations with 2 individuals in particular. When I was in Melbourne, James Taranto came up to me and said, Ruben, you probably won't remember this, but I started at Deakin University in 2017. And that was my last year at Deakin University.
Yeah.
And that was the year that I was president of the Sports Society. And James said that in his first week of university, during O Week, he came up to the Sports Society stall and wanted to get involved. And he saw me there and he bought a membership. And so he was a part of that first year of DUS. And during that year of DUS, that was an important experience for me because talking about that got me the job at Cricket Australia. And through the events that we ran through there, James became a part of the organisation there. And now I didn't know too much about James at the time, but he recalled that experience. And since then, he'd been following on SportsGrad after seeing what had been happening at DUS.
Yeah.
And at the meetup in Melbourne, he came up to me and said, "Hey, Ruben, I met you at O Week in 2017. I've been following along SportsGrad ever since. It's really nice to see what you're doing now." So thank you, James, if you're listening to this, because that was really quite special. And the other one is Cam Smith. Cam Smith sent me a message in 2018 saying, "Hey, Ruben, I've just seen a couple of the SportsGrad YouTube videos. They've been really helpful for me in my career." And 2 years before the podcast came out, he was following along. And when we went up to Brisbane, that was the first time I've ever met Cam face to face. I feel like I know him really well now because he's been a part of our community for a while.
Yeah.
But had never chatted to him face to face. So it was really nice just to have that face-to-face time with a couple of people who've been around for a long, long time at SportsGrad.
Yeah, unreal. That's two great stories. Some full circle moments there, which is awesome.
Absolutely. Got me in the feels, those two.
Cam is killing it up at Southport Sharks. Great to chat to him, and yeah, you're right. It's unusual seeing people the first time when you've spoken to them so many times online. It's quite weird.
Yeah, he's another one who was a bit taller than I expected.
Yeah, it seems to happen every time, doesn't it? Everyone's taller than we think.
Yeah, it's hard to get a gauge on Zoom.
Because in our mind, they're as tall as what the screen showed us. So can't really judge it that well.
Yeah, exactly. And just while we're on the topic of Brisbane and Cam Smith, while we're up there, we met so many different people from the organisations in the area who were absolutely hyped about the Brisbane coming to town. It's still 10 years away. But, the people from Cricket Queensland and Queensland Rugby, they're all chomping at the bit to get involved in the Olympics. I'm not sure what the current employers think about this, but everyone is just so excited for the Olympics coming to town, which gave like this incredible energy to the meetup, I felt.
Yeah, there's a lot of it's almost like the reason to get involved is because the Olympics is coming in 10 years. So you better start now to get there.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Well,
not many other states have that.
How good was our lunch with Nat Cook?
Yeah, awesome. She's a superstar. She'd be listening. Shout out to you, Nat.
Yeah. Those who don't know, we interviewed Nat Cook, former Australian gold medalist and 5-time Olympian, a couple of episodes back. Proud Brisbane local.
Proudest
yes.
ever.
Yeah, like the number one advocate of the Brisbane Olympics. She couldn't make it to the meetup, but we made sure we had lunch with her while we were up in Brisbane, and she was really excited about what we're doing at SportsGrad and what we're trying to build towards, because they're going to need a lot of good people to make the Olympics happen, and she really wants to make sure there's a lot of good people. So some exciting conversations there.
I reckon the most passionate Queenslander I know. Just
Absolutely.
loves Queensland. Awesome. Let's shift over to some things we learnt. And I'm happy to kick off. And I think more than previous meetups, these ones showed that organisations are willing to come along and quite literally handpick people and hire them. I think we said at the start, we had T20 World Cup going, we had Saka, we had our good friends at Urban Rec who came along to Sydney, Amma Sports came along to Melbourne. They were all there looking to find people who could potentially work for them. So I think, if anything, it just shows for the people out there who are thinking about coming along that there are opportunities right in front of you, and you just have to rock up. You just have to go and present yourself, and the chance of meeting someone's very high that is looking to find someone immediately. So get along, because that was one of my biggest learnings about these ones.
And that's probably something that's changed over the course of running these meetups. Like I think this was we've now done like 9 meetups in total, I think, over the last few years. And one thing that's evolved is organisations are actively coming to these events to find people for their organisation. So really, you've just got to show up.
Yeah, and I think it's probably because the community's evolved. Like it's now, your number one ticket is being in the community and being able to speak to those organisations that are attending. So automatically when they rock up, they sort of say, "Are you part of the community? I can touch base with you inside there if we can." And that's just kind of an easy in. So I think it's because that has evolved that they've seen that, hey, there's some people in here that have real potential and that could work for us. So let's go meet them face to face. So there's a tip out there: join the community, and then makes it a lot easier when you do attend these events to put a face to a name. Yeah,
and organisations take notice of it too. Like I was chatting with Lee Southern from the T20 World Cup, and he just said to me, "Ruben, it's really great seeing all these students here because it really shows how much effort they're willing to go to invest in their career."
Yeah.
And the fact that they're just putting themselves out there and putting the effort in is really highly regarded. Like Lee said, I love what they're doing. I don't know what they're capable of yet or what they're like, but just the fact that they're here is really highly regarded in the eyes of these organisations, because I think people who work in sport, they know how tough it is.
Yeah.
They know how much networking you've got to do. They know how much volunteer time you've got to do. They know how much you've got to put yourselves out there for seemingly no reward. So for those people who do put themselves out there, it's kind of instantly recognised by the organisations.
Yeah.
They can see a little bit of themselves in these people who are grinding it out day to day to get their foot in the door, and they want to reward that. So that was probably just another takeaway for me, that organisations are really regarding people putting themselves out there at meetups.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the other learnings that came off this period of travel is that check-in for flights closes 45 minutes before boarding. And I say this laughing now, but my God, were we not happy.
Oh, we had a mare that day.
bit of a story for those listening, and it's no one's fault. It's both of our faults. But essentially, the night before we travelled to Sydney, Ruben and I went out for dinner with some good friends of the show, Geordie Miles, Shannon Gove, and Bennett Merriman, great friends of the show and also directors of SportsGrad.
Our investors.
Our minds were elsewhere, it's fair to say. We weren't thinking about the flight the next morning. And
a lot of big picture ideas floating around that night.
A lot of ideas always go through our brain.
Yeah.
By the end of the night, you're like, gee, there's a lot in my head right now. Anyway, we got to the airport at about 5:30 the next morning. We both couldn't check in. We're on the app. Don't know what's going on here. I can't check in.
Why can't I find my flight?
Yeah, I don't get it. And then we just, for some reason, the line was too big to use the machines anyway. So it was like, we'll just go check in at the gate. And got through security. And then Ruben looks down at his phone and says, "Oh, looks like our flight's been bumped." And I was like, "Oh, what?" And our flight was at 6:30. It was saying it's going at 7:10. So we're like, "Oh, that's really bizarre." So we walked back out through security thinking we had to go to another gate. And then we looked down and we're like, actually, no, that's our flight tomorrow. The gate didn't exist. So then we had to get back into the security line, which was going slower than you would ever believe. Get to the gate and they said, "No, your flight's gone.
You haven't checked in on time."
You haven't checked in.
So we were there. We were there on time. We just didn't check in.
We didn't check in and everyone was on the plane. So
I've never missed a flight in my life before until that.
Neither. And you know what's funny? I didn't hear our names being called.
Yeah.
So that's a weird one. Yeah. I know why they weren't, though, because we weren't checked in on the flight.
Probably. That would make sense.
So just a trick for young players out there. Check into your flight the night before, I reckon, just to be safe to avoid any airport stuff-ups.
Absolutely.
And buying another ticket with an hour to spare, which isn't cheap.
No, that was that hurt.
Happy to close the book on that one, though.
Yeah. One meetup that we did make it to without without such drama was Adelaide. And this probably wasn't a learning for myself, but a learning for people in Adelaide, because we arrived in Adelaide to do a presentation at the University of South Australia. And there were some students there who learnt about SportsGrad for the very first time. And at that session, we kind of said, tonight we're having a meetup over the West Oak Hotel. Why didn't you come along? So a whole bunch of these students came along after learning about SportsGrad for the first time, arrived at the meetup, and then were meeting people from the T20 World Cup and the soccer who were hiring on the night. And so these people who have never heard of SportsGrad in the morning were walking away that night with a potential job at the biggest tournament coming to Australia this year, as well as the soccer, one of the biggest organisations in Adelaide. So I just love that we're able to kind of facilitate that sort of impact on the one day from university to a meetup by bringing these organisations together. Yeah,
I love that as well. It was about a 50-metre walk for them as well, which was fantastic. Always helps.
Yep.
But you're dead right. Like, they had no idea who we were. And then they rocked up and were highly engaged, just there to have a chat to people, and just kind of went with the message, like just come along and see what happens. I think, it just proves that if you can just show up, which I'll speak about in a moment, you never know what's going to happen. So good on those guys.
Absolutely. So plenty of people who we met, plenty of things that we learned. But for you, Ryan, what did you absolutely love across the month of meetups?
Yeah, I just loved people simply showing up and backing themselves. We talk about it a lot. You can think about going. You can even RSVP. You can chat to your mates to see if they're going. Whatever it is, whatever excuse you can find to not go, people sometimes go with it. But for these round of meetups, I just felt like a lot of people who said they're going to go rocked up and they backed themselves. And a lot of them just rocked up without a friend. Yeah. They rocked up on their own, which
it's hard.
I think about that when I was going through this years ago, and there's no way I would have done that. No way.
Not a chance.
So I think that's just what I love, is just people putting themselves out there and backing themselves to go and have a great time, meet someone new, and to put themselves out there, because it genuinely gets noticed. Like I mentioned at the start, like Stella, who's a member of ours, who I think she was first there. And we just had a good chat, and I was like, oh, like, who'd you come with? She's like, no, I just came on my own. I was like, have you been to many of these before? She's like, no, this is my first one ever. And I was just like, wow, this is epic.
Yeah.
Like, what a great thing to do. So shout out to Stella, but also there's plenty of other people who did the same thing. So that's just fantastic. I'll also add to that, and I feel like this might be a theme we should run with going forward, but we loved people who were repping their brands who they worked for. A shout out to Miranda Cunningham, who worked at the AOC. She actually wore an AOC polo.
She had the Olympic rings on her.
Olympic rings. And that was just epic. I love people just repping the brand, getting themselves out there. So key message there, put yourself out there for the world to see.
Yep.
And good on you for taking a leap.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's probably one of the great things about the community, that is, even if you don't bring a friend along, there's heaps of people who you can easily make friends with. Everyone's so easy to talk to. Everyone's so welcoming. It's really the perfect environment if you're just getting into networking in the sports industry.
Yeah.
One of the things I loved was meeting one of our followers in Melbourne called Gemma. She was doing a very similar thing. She came along to the Melbourne meetup by herself, knowing absolutely nobody. Was in, I think, her first year of uni, so very early on to get started in this sort of stuff, which is fantastic. And she told me about her exchange plans. So she's going on exchange to America later this year to the same university that Michael Wolfert, one of our favourite podcast guests, did his undergraduate at. Michael Wolfert features in episodes 8 and 153. He now works with the Cincinnati Bengals, who played in the Super Bowl. If you want to hear all about that, go to 153. But I was speaking to Gemma about how to make the most of this exchange experience. And number one, go message Michael, like tell him you're coming to his university, because he'll, be very happy to hear that. Yeah. And one of the things when I went to visit Michael in the US in 2018 is I took a pair of Cricket Australia shorts with me. So speaking about merchandise, Ryan, it becomes very useful when you're traveling.
Tradable item.
Literally. Because Gemma said, when I get there, I want to buy a university jumper or something like that. That's great. But if you go to a shop and pay your $50 to get your jumper, you're going to wear that. It's going to feel nice. You have a bit of you have a nice bit of kit to wear around. But if you, say, for example, go to the Deakin University merchandise shop, buy a Deakin jumper, then get to the university over there and trade it with somebody else for a jumper, that jumper now means a whole lot more to you. And you've now got a relationship with that person who you traded items with for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
For example, Michael and I still chat today. And I love being able to share the stuff that I've been able to pick up with him. He loves wearing those shorts around. I've done it on a few other occasions in Taipei and over in the UK as well. And it's just a nice little way to kind of share a gift with somebody else and, build on the connection you have. So, love getting to meet Gemma and the plans that she's got coming up overseas.
Yeah, lovely. Exchange kit.
That's it.
It's the key. Again, I just love seeing all the members we'd met over Discord, and there's obviously over 300 of those that are currently in there. But it's great seeing face to face, as well as the people who have been with us since the very, very start. But two notable examples of just commitment to coming along and great seeing them face to face was Min and Sam from Adelaide. Both been SportsGrad members for a long time now. And they were so keen to come along that they actually flew to Melbourne to come and be part of the Melbourne meetup.
Yeah, they were in Adelaide. So we met them in Adelaide once. Then a week later, they flew to Melbourne.
Yeah, so they've done the double. I'm still waiting for someone to do the quad. That would be unreal. But just a shout out to them, because that is commitment of the highest order. They've put extra money down to get here. They thought, let's go for a weekend, watch the footy while they're here, get a full Melbourne experience of watching the footy or whatever. But the main thing there is they've decided to go out their way and come to the Melbourne meetup because they see the opportunity that's there. And they want to come and meet people in different parts of Australia, not just in Adelaide. And they don't just want to do it virtually. They want to actually be there in person. So a shout out to them, seeing them there. And it's, by all accounts, they got a lot out of it and they were very happy with it. So that's the commitment we just love. Yeah. It's amazing.
Absolutely. And on that note as well, UD, who drove down from Canberra to Sydney, took the bus, I believe, and made a massive effort to get there. There are a couple of blokes who, Cooper and Boyd from the Central Coast, spent an hour and a half in a train to get down to the Sydney meetup. So, but again, when you talk about Sam and Min, you think about the price of their flights and the price of their accommodation and the price of getting to the airport and from the airport and all that. But then when you think about where are the relationships that they made in Melbourne going to take them, the returns on that are far outweigh the cost of getting to another city, because it's not just what they're going to get out of it in the next month or next 6 months, but the next 10 years. Those relationships are going to come back to them in droves. So well done for those guys for realising the benefit of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another thing I loved, Ryan, was the football theme that was present in Sydney.
Big football city.
Now we're talking about the World Game here.
Yeah. There's only we're doing out one code.
Yeah. Now the Socceroos have just qualified for the FIFA World Cup in Qatar later this year. And one of our SportsGrad members, Sam Hickson, was over there on the ground, running onto the field, hugging the captain, Matt Ryan, as Australia qualified for the World Cup. We got to chat to him about that experience, what it was like. There's a whole podcast episode on it. But seeing him back on the ground was fantastic. And he was even kind enough to bring a Socceroos shirt for me from Qatar. So I've now got this nice little Socceroos kit with number 8 on the back, Bailey Wright, I believe, which I'm going to treasure.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a difference between the material in what the players actually wear and what you can buy, in a shop, for example. Yeah. So I was like holding this shirt.
Ultra good quality, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I was like, this is incredible. I've never seen anything like it before.
Yeah, nice.
So Sam Hickson from Football Australia bringing me along a Socceroos shirt was a nice little bonus. But then also getting to chat with a couple of the women from the FIFA Women's World Cup, Chaim Katrib and Emily Jackson, two of the heads of workforce, head of legal, both making the time to come along, which was outstanding. Chaim literally controls the jobs of this tournament.
I love the way you say that.
She's the head of workforce.
She owns the jobs.
She does. She was like, all right, who am I going to pick here?
Yeah.
We got a great podcast episode with her on how she's kind of going about the hiring of the FIFA Women's World Cup, which is, I think, episode 132, back around that mark. But if you want to work for the FIFA Women's World Cup, Chaim is your go-to person.
Yeah.
And so having these two heads of and having Sam there as well just create this really nice football theme to Sydney. I think there were people from the Western Sydney Wanderers there as well too. So I like how each state has got their different nuances, and Sydney had a big football feel to it.
Yeah, absolutely. My last love, there was no reports of job requesting.
Thank God.
Didn't need to sound the alarm or anything. Didn't need to, kick people out. I'm only joking. I wouldn't do that. But there was no alerts, which is fantastic. So good to hear that no one was asking for jobs, at least not directly saying, can I please have a job? All good to ask about future opportunities, but good to hear that there was none of that happening.
Yeah.
And I think people will listen to our 4-part series.
Yeah.
A lot of the do's and don'ts are here too.
Yeah.
I actually broke one of them.
What was that?
I interrupted someone.
Oh, no. Ryan.
I know.
How dare you?
But there's a story behind it. But
Okay.
I just had to do it. And I actually got told, you just broke the rule.
Who pulled you up?
I can't. Don't put me on the spot. I can't remember his name. I will find out. But it was very funny. I was like, oh, shit. I've done it. Almost needed to keep myself out.
Yeah.
But no, I'm only joking. But no, it was good. There was no silly, just annoyances, which I think was good. So only good feedback from people.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, you're right. A lot of people listen to that 4-part series. One that continued to come up, I reckon it came up at every single meetup, was from the episode How to Network Without Being Awkward.
Yep.
And that was make sure you always got something in your hand. Because sometimes your hands are just lying there. You got no idea what to do with your hands. Yeah. So one quick fix for that is go and hold something, whether it's a beer or a wine or a glass of water. Just make sure you got something in your hands the whole time. And on, I reckon, like 7 different occasions, someone came up to me and said, "Ruben, great to see you've got something in your hand."
Yeah. I didn't have a drink at one point. Someone said, "There's nothing in your hand." And I'm like, far out, I got to go buy a drink. Anyway, it was good fun.
Yeah.
Good fun.
But that's good. We did put it out there on the event description, the event invitation. Do not ask for a job.
Yeah.
Because it just flat out is rude and turns people off and it's not going to work. Let it come to you. And people abided by it. So that's really good to hear. Yeah. I have got one more thing to add to what we loved from these meetup series. And that is a handwritten card from our good friend at Sheka Shreda. Sheka wrote us this beautiful card that just said, "Ruben and Ryan, thank you very much for putting on these meetups. Thank you for doing what you do at SportsGrad," and brought it along to the Melbourne meetup and gave it to us there in person. So thank you very much, Sheka. We got a lot of nice messages over LinkedIn and from different sources, but to receive a handwritten card is absolutely outstanding. So it's on the desk at SportsGrad HQ, and we greatly appreciate it. Thank you, mate.
It'll be on the desk at HQ for some time, I would have thought.
Yeah.
And shout out to Sheka, who I think we mentioned it last couple of episodes, but he's back at Cricket Australia as well.
Yeah, got a ripping new job there.
So good on him. But that was an awesome episode. I like reviewing our meetups.
Yeah.
We've got a bit more formal review to do on what we do with them. But I think it's fair to say, and I said this in Melbourne to run, that they're going to strength. And it's all because of those who are coming along to them and putting the time in to come and invest in their careers, because that is what you're doing when you go into a room of professionals and students and people in the industry. You are investing in your career by building those relationships. So well done to everyone for coming along. There's going to be plenty more. There's going to be different formats. So certainly different things we're going to do with them. But I think at its core, have everyone come along and just have a casual night of meeting people in the industry is fantastic. So thanks for coming along.
Couldn't agree more.
Awesome. Well, connect with us on LinkedIn, plus be sure to jump into the SportsGrad community. You can find us on there and chat to us and react to our messages and do whatever you want in there. It's fantastic. Great community.
Give us a bread emoji reaction.
Yes, we love the bread emoji. It's become a thing in the community, hasn't it?
I don't know how.
I don't know either. Someone started it. We'll find them. Head to our website, sportsgrad.com.au/community to join, or head to the link in our show notes. Also, if you love the show, we would love for you to rate the show 5 stars wherever you listen to your podcast. Subscribe on Apple or follow on Spotify. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.